Welcome to Trading at the Close. My name is Benjamin Poole, and I am filling in for Toni Valier. We have Gareth Soloway on in a little bit. Let's go ahead and jump into the markets. So today we have, this is our heat map that we have. And man, I haven't seen this much red on a screen in a long time. We've got technology services, they're down on the day. We've got the finances, they're down on the day as well. Health and technology is kind of a mixed bag, but overall we are so down. All right, so we've got the US 30, so the Dow Jones about 1.35%. We've got the NASDAQ down 2.18%. And then we've got the S&P 500. It was down about 2.2%, so it's had a little bit of a bounce towards the end of the day. We have US oil that's actually up on the day. And take a look at gold. Gold is down 27 points on the day. So that's actually a pretty big drop on gold. So Garrett's going to talk about a couple of different charts as well. And then Bitcoin, it's down about 1% on the day. The one thing that we have seen moving in the markets is the VIXI. The VIXI or the VXX has been getting a pretty big pop on the day. And so that's our volatility index. So volatility is starting to be sucked out of the market. And so it's going to start going a little bit higher. So Gareth, what do you have for us?
Oh, thanks for the intro. All right.
Here we go.
All right, let's get going. I thought you were going to say you haven't seen that much red on the screen since your last horror movie that you watched.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, let's get into it, guys. So what do we have? We have the markets getting crushed across the board. Oil's actually, interestingly enough, up. This is all on the back, obviously, of what we saw from the CPI data this morning, right? So the CPI data coming in, and essentially we went from expecting a rate cut in May, and remember, not that long ago we were expecting one in March. So it went from March to May to now June is the next expected rate cut. And again, the markets are reeling on the back of that because that's a big change in expectations in terms of liquidity, in terms of cheap money, in terms of the Fed being lenient to a market if now inflation is beginning to pop up. So again, as we flip over to some charts, let's just take a look at a couple of these different ones here, right? So first and foremost, the dollar has gone nuts today, has been one of the biggest movers in a long time. You don't see the dollar moving like this very often. We are piercing this downsloping trend line, right? So beautiful downsloping trend line. The big question for me is it just a pierce and we're going to see this reversal tomorrow? Or are we going to see a breakout on the dollar? The dollar breaks out, and this market's going a lot lower. And again, that's going to be something that I'll be watching tomorrow. 10-year yield, same kind of thing. I mean, look at the move on the 10-year. I had this target of around 4.37%, and we're now at 4.316 already. You can see the line right in here. That's my target zone. So I do think there's a little bit more upside on the 10-year yield. We might hit this as early as tomorrow. All right, now, S&P 500. Look at this. These are the kind of things that I absolutely love in terms of charts. So if you tuned into today's game plan, right, we talked about how you basically had a level here that I was saying to people was the warning sign. Like if you hold the level, the markets are good. There's no need to panic. If you break below it, that's where you start to get worried about the markets. Well, look at this. Look at this S&P candle day. It goes below down here, and now it's getting rescued into the end of the day, and it's finding its way back above. I don't make the rules. I don't tell the charts what to do, but it's amazing to watch how the trend lines work in this way. All right, so that's a key right there. And then really here again, if we look at the NASDAQ 100, let's flip over to that. This is that long-term trend line that I still believe is an epic trend line. You can now see that we've hit this, we pierced this just literally days ago, and we've now backed off just a little bit. And then flipping over to the intraday QQQ, I would say that let's draw that same sort of line in the charts here. So again, if we look at this, let's put it right to this low here, right? So take that low, connect it right through here, okay? And if we drag that line up, we basically are still above the zone. So what do I take from this? Basically that the markets, yes, it's a big sell-off day. Is it time to panic? Is it time to jump out the window? The answer is no, it's not, because we're still holding these lines. Now these lines break, that's where things can get messy for the overall stock market. I think, again, Ben, what would you think? Like, what kind of different stocks today were in play? I mean, we saw Nvidia, which was at one point up 15, then it came and went negative. I think right now, at least, it's kind of hovering flat to negative.
We had other stocks like ARM too that were down big time.
Yeah.
Place, PLCE, that had a huge move yesterday.
Yep.
But then it did a 30% retrace today. So I mean, just kind of all over the place.
Yeah. One thing I want to just mention here, guys, take a look at the Russell. So the Russell, you guys know, big fan of the Russell. The Russell had a 3-bar daily surge on it over the last few days, but today it's getting crushed. Now, does this change the narrative? And the answer is no. Just like the S&P didn't break that key trend line, same thing. We haven't seen the break points yet. If we're going to the daily IWM, again, here's your lines, right? So we zoom out on this. Are we still above this zone right here? The answer is yes. So yes, it's a big day on the sell-off on the IWM, the Russell, but we're still above that level. No reason to panic on the Russell. I still think we're going to see a rotation of capital continuing into this zone here, the smaller names out there that have been lagging on the charts. Other than that, let's take a look at Bitcoin. I know you guys love your Bitcoin. Right now, we're trading back to 49,400. And again, we know that I took a short on Bitcoin above 50,000. So far in the money on that, was as much as almost $2,000 in the money. But again, the trend line here, this is going to be a big thing to watch over the next couple days. We do have PPI numbers coming out in just a couple days, and those PPI numbers could be a make or break for that chart we talked about, right? So we'll have to keep an eye on them.
Okay, so let's go back to the CPI and the PPI numbers. So they came in hotter than expected.
Right.
And so that drove the market down initially. But it didn't break that trend line. So if it's going to continue with hotter numbers, what is it going to take to actually break those lines for continual downside?
Yeah, so
on
I think,
SPY.
It's a great point, right? So yes, these numbers couldn't have been worse for the markets, right? I mean, you know, to think about how the Fed needs inflation to head back towards 2% for them to cut rates significantly, and now all of a sudden we're starting to go the opposite way. That's an issue. But we still have the buy the dip, right? The buy the dip mentality is so ingrained in this market that people are like, okay, yeah, that's not a good number, but everything's been a buy the dip, so why not just continue to buy the dip? So I think that's what's holding things up. If the PPI number comes in hot in a couple days, I think that could be another catalyst that potentially could break that line. And then I also think next week, NVIDIA earnings, like NVIDIA is your star shining, your North Star in the sky for this market. If that gets hit on earnings, I think that's a huge blow to the overall markets, and that could be a culprit.
Okay, I guess it's like the jingle says, right? If the semis are strong, nothing's wrong?
Nothing's wrong, baby.
That's right.
That's it. Cool.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Trading the Close. My name is Benjamin Poole, and make sure to tune in tomorrow for the game plan at 9 o'clock sharp. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care.